Greetings and welcome to the ROI Clear podcast. My name is Ray Hightower, and today we are fortunate to have as our guest Mr. Jon Lopez. Jon Lopez is one of the managing partners of Nine Doors Down, and he's going to tell us all about that. He's going to tell us how they got the name, what they do, a little bit more about his entrepreneurial journey. Without any further delay, let us introduce Mr. Jon Lopez. Greetings, Jon.
Ray, thank you so much. It's an honor and a privilege to be on the ROI Clear podcast, man. It's I've known you for several years. I admire what you do. That's the passion that you put into your craft, and it just spreads throughout the universe, man. And I caught a whiff of the Ray Hightower energy back in 2020.
Wow, man, you know what? That respect and admiration is mutual. Both ways. I'm grateful to you for that. Grateful to you for it. Ever since that dinner on Camelback in Phoenix, Arizona, where we hung out, had some steaks, and had a good time back in 2020. So that was really good. So yeah, glad to have you here. And I'm grateful that our mutual friend Anthony Pimentel introduced us. Our mutual friend and your business partner, Anthony Pimentel, introduced us. So glad to have you here. Let's go ahead and kick things off with an elevator pitch. And for those who are unfamiliar with the ROI Clear podcast, Jon is on an elevator with someone he wants to influence. Jon, what would you say to that person in the course of an elevator ride?
Yeah, as far as the Nine Doors Down elevator ride with 9 floors, I would say that we put ourselves and our investors in a position where we could 2x our capital via multifamily and self-storage real estate.
All right. 2x capital, multifamily, self-storage. At that point, curiosity is piqued. So I've got to ask you a couple of questions about this. How did you happen to choose those two particular asset classes, multifamily and self-storage?
Yeah, man. So that's a great question, and that's we always include that in our bluff, our bottom line up front, anytime we're talking to people. You know what? To be honest with you, for me, I identified a hot hand with my partner Anthony back in 2020, 2021, and I kind of just stood by his side and I picked his brain with just about any question that I could think of. His knowledge and passion just for those two asset classes, I couldn't help but to have it permeate with my interest.
Right, right. Yeah, Anthony is definitely a business visionary. And when I first met you, you were moving into the multifamily business. Of course, Anthony had been doing it for a while. He had some assets in a couple of states. Of course, you're in Vegas. He's in California, like Santa Clarita, and you partnered together. You formed your partnership, or actually, you may have formed your partnership while you were still in California. Is that true?
Yeah, I was yes, yeah. So we formed when we were still in California. So the long story short, so Anthony has known my wife and his wife since they were in middle school. So my wife
Mm,
and Anthony's wife are actually best friends. And
wow.
it's so funny, Ray, because before actually seeing the commercial real estate light, my wife and Anthony, they were indirectly and directly trying to show me the light to becoming an entrepreneur. It's
Yes.
it's just I was warm and fuzzy and comfortable in my W-2 job at the time, man.
Yeah. Tell us about your W-2. What's your background?
Yeah, so I come from the cell phone industry.
Hmm.
I started off with AT&T. I was a sales director. I managed stores as well. Then later on through the years, I got promoted to a small business manager. And then after that position, I got hired to be a sales director for a cell phone accessory distributor. So same field,
Hmm.
very similar.
Hmm.
But I was working for a, a small business, and so when I was an employer, small business, you marketing on your earn sales, you could learn to become an entrepreneur, writing an entrepreneur's coach.
Yes.
So I'm really very thankful for the opportunity because I wasn't working in a corporate structure where I was told what to do, what to say, and all I had to do was just execute. For me, that was easy. So working for a small business, it forced me to really think creatively and outside the box.
Yes. And with your sales background, you said cell phone industry, then cell phone accessories, and you moved up in sales, became a director. Yeah, you're very much at the cutting edge of entrepreneurship there.
I would say so. I mean, just on the retail side, I mean, we would have like 15, 12 to 15 million dollar months just from one location alone. And granted, you're
Amazing.
selling cell phone plans and internet plans and so and all these accessories, but I learned damage control,
Mm,
listening to people, asking the open-ended questions, and getting to know them more because that's around that time. That's when I started realizing if I could get the person's guard down and start to feel comfortable, and they start talking more about themselves.
hmm
That's when I knew that my value proposition will just be slightly more receptive on their end.
Yeah. And it's interesting. You look at a lot of this through the eyes of someone who is selling, who is persuading, who is moving the prospect through a process.
Yes. It's a whole relationship base, it's no like and trust,
Yeah.
and
Now,
some
when did you know that you wanted to go the sales route, that you wanted to go in that direction?
I didn't, Ray. So in college, I was public relations was my major,
hmm
and but a side piece of that. So I've been a DJ since 1994. And
Mm.
so, and I'm originally from the Bay Area, then I transferred down to
hmm
Cal State Northridge, and from
Yeah.
there, I knew I could make some type of income through my DJ services, whether it's weddings, doing other fraternity sorority parties, birthday parties. I had that experience, and I learned that taking care of your client would eventually lead to referrals and more
hmm
referrals. And then this was even before I made flyers for myself. This is like before even MySpace really took off. So I learned the sales aspect through my passion of DJing. And
Right.
then when I graduated college, um, I still didn't know what to do, Ray. I was like,
hmm
I knew I liked being around people. I knew I
hmm
liked having conversations, getting to know people, finding their pain points and their success stories. And when that opportunity came to work for AT&T through for some reason I took off. It natural. Remember at that time, AT&T was pushing a product called Uverse, which
hmm
was like a fiber optic TV and then
Yes.
VoIP. And my very first month with AT&T, I sold about over 20 subscriptions. And even the veterans in the Bay Area, they could only close like one or two or three deals um, at that time. And that's when I kind of learned. I was like, you know what? Having a fresh mind is sometimes better than working with someone who's a seasoned veteran who's already comfortable in their ways and they're not really open to trying new things. Whereas myself, I was just listening to what the people above me were telling me to include it like in my sales pitch, and that's all I did. I just listened to them and I relayed it to them, and I've always found myself very easy to get along with other people, and in
hmm
sales it's just I can't say it enough. It's everything.
Right, right. Getting along with people. And you learned that in your DJ business in college.
Yeah. So even before college, so through DJing, like I learned to read a crowd. So
hmm
like anytime, like say I'm asked to be a guest speaker or at a meetup, like last week we had this little conference here in Las Vegas. I always ask, what is the crowd going to be? What's the demographic? I can never really 100% prejudge what the crowd is going to be. But if I had that base ground of the base level of the demographic, I could think of my delivery of like how to deliver it. Because when I was with AT&T, my sales pitch was different to a personality in Oakland, California. And then when I moved down to Southern California and learned and worked in Huntington Beach, my sales pitch switched over. And so I learned to be a chameleon. It all depends on the person that was in front of me. I'm still the same person of who I am, but I might use different slang just so that way I
Right.
can relate to that person.
Can you give an example of how something changed from Northern California, from the Bay Area down to Huntington Beach?
Yeah. So in the Oakland market, it's very urban. There's a lot of
hmm
a lot of slang.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm talking to, a lot of minorities, right? But when I moved to Huntington Beach, I learned their slang too, but it's beach. It's focused around the beach and surfing. So I
Mm-hmm.
picked up on that lingo because I knew I had to find a way to bridge with a person that I'm in front of, so that way they're more prone to buy from me.
Right, right. You're connecting with the person that you're in front of based on their background, their lingo. You're listening
Yeah.
to their lingo. My goodness, you have to be an excellent listener, number one. You have to be an excellent observer of human behavior. You have to look at their body language because we communicate with our facial expressions and folding our arms, unfolding our arms, and all that, all of that. So
Yeah. And
that is remarkable.
it goes back to DJing too. So like if I know that, say I'm doing a crowd where it's like maybe 50 and over, my playlist is gonna be around the Earth, Wind and Fires, the Prince, this is the older crowd. But
Yeah.
if I'm around, say, someone my generation,
Hmm.
it'll be more like 90s R&B and hip hop. And then the younger generation that I go, I know they're a little bit more open to the open format concept. So it's
Okay.
and yeah.
Cool. So if it's 50 and over, it's excellent grown folks music. And if it's younger than that, it's noise.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah. You got to cater
I'm
to the
just messing with
crowd
you.
one
I
way or
just wanted
another.
to see if you were listening. I just wanted
Yeah.
to make sure you were listening. Yeah, there we go. There we go. So that's how it works. That's amazing. So connect the dots, please, from what you did. This is fascinating. I didn't know about your DJ background.
Oh
I knew
yeah.
that I knew you had an entrepreneurial background, and I knew that you knew how to get things done. I didn't know that you were a DJ also. So it's fascinating. So I'm going to ask you to connect the dots from your beginning as a DJ in 1994, through college and through the sales that you did at AT&T and T, and into what you're doing now with commercial real estate investing. Tell us some stories that connect those dots, if you will.
I I think what connects the dots, it's a people business, no
Mhm.
matter what I was doing at that time. So when I was still learning how to DJ, I'm learning from my friends who's been doing it maybe like 6 months or 12 months longer than I have. And so,
Mhm.
just asking the question, just sharing the knowledge, right?
Right.
They learn a certain technique, they teach it to me. Next thing you know, I got the fundamentals, but I add my own salt and pepper to it. And next thing you know,
Mhm.
I'm sharing what I've learned to that other person. So it's a constant elevation.
Yeah.
That same thing has transcended all the way to Nine Doors Down, because, you know, even my days in the cell phone industry, it's educational. You gotta you're telling the advantages of why we're going from 3G to 4G to 5G, why this smartphone is better than a different phone, and why a green bubble Android is inferior to a blue bubble iPhone or something like that, right? And
Yeah.
then
Okay.
now going to to Nine Doors Down, it's once again it's educational. I was very surprised when I found out that not a lot of people knew how to use an SDIRA, and I was blown away because
Yeah.
I used that about several years ago, because I was like thinking, it's just, all right, this is a way I could deploy capital.
Mhm.
I'm moving, I'm going to move towards it. I don't need anyone telling me what to do with my, the capital that's sitting in that account. And then when I started speaking to very like high level professionals, they didn't know. And
Yes.
and that
Yeah.
and because of that, that's when I learned the concept. I was like, you gotta always be learning, so that way you
Mhm.
can share that knowledge to those who are not aware of it. Because I want to, I think we all want to help others, even if we've never met them in our lives.
Right.
Whether they see
Right.
us they listen to us on your podcast, or it could be our social media or Instagram or whatever. You never know what God-given talents that you have is actually going to help others.
Right. Oh, that's brilliant. That's insightful right there. And so in your observation of people, you're not only looking at their language and their body language and their tendencies and what they like, but you're looking for their God-given talents as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not everyone shares their God-given talent, right? So a lot of them, are pretty shy from the get-go. But, you know, for example, I know several people who've graduated from recent masterminds. I
Mm-hmm.
try to push them to the, hey, I'll give you 5, 7 minutes. Talk about your story. That's it. Just talk about
Mm-hmm.
your story.
Right,
And a
right.
lot of them are still apprehensive, but the ones that actually take that opportunity,
Yes.
they get blown away because now they have 4, 5, 6 people now approaching them after their presentation to learn more about what they do. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when I tell them, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
you don't know who you're impacting. That's why, like, you don't ever be shy.
Yeah.
You want that awkwardness. You welcome it. Just welcome it because it's going to make you a better person.
Embrace it. Embrace it. And when you share your story, you never know who you'll be able to connect to. And who knows, you might be able to collaborate and do something that you never dreamed you could do together.
Yeah, I have several of those relationships in my life. That is for sure. Just by meeting them at a meetup.
Mm-hmm. There it goes. There it goes. All right. So we've gone through, from the DJing to what you did in the cell phone industry, your sales background. You went to college, studied PR in college. Tell us about Nine Doors Down. First, to kick us off, how did Nine Doors Down get named?
Yeah, I all credit goes to my wife, Tony Rose. So 9 doors down is myself, Tony, and Anthony. The very first property that we closed on was a 9-unit apartment in Tucson. And it was
Mm,
a result of me selling one of my single family rental properties in Carson, California.
yes.
So when I was in the process of selling, I remember telling Anthony, I was like, hey, I'm thinking about selling this house and maybe buying 3 homes all in cash in like Indianapolis, Oklahoma, just houses for like 50 grand,
Yeah.
70 grand a pop.
Yeah.
And that's when he he was like, why would you want to do that? And I was like, well, because I can have all the cash flow. He was like, well, you're not gonna be able to scale at a certain point. And so again, I was close to Anthony. I was like, I identified a hot hand. You know what? This guy knows what he's talking about. I'm gonna follow him. I trust
Mm-hmm.
him. And so we joint ventured on that property, and we had a fourth partner, Ron, and it was 9 units. And on our way back from due diligence of driving back from Tucson to Los Angeles, Anthony calls us hey, we need to think of an LLC name. And then
Mm-hmm.
without any hesitation, Tony was all, let's call it 9 doors down. There's 9 units, and it's a spin-off of the band 3 doors down.
Yes.
And Ray, it just stuck. It just stuck ever since.
Wow.
So like,
Okay.
yeah, we opened up the fund with it. But now I have a podcast, got a school under the 9 doors down umbrella, and it just it it sounds like a regular name. It doesn't sound fancy like something capital or whatever, you know?
Yes, yes, yeah. Yep. And it's unconventional and you don't forget it. Like you said, there's so many other names out there that are exactly as you said, something capital. Nothing's wrong with those names, but certainly you have given yourself a PR and marketing advantage. See
It,
how your background ties in there, right? You've given
I
yourself a PR and marketing advantage because you're memorable.
you know, it was funny. Me and Anthony had this conversation when we were at Raids Fest, when we were
Yes.
with you out in Phoenix. We could not count how many times people have asked us, "Oh, what is 9 doors down?" And then maybe after day one, obviously, I tell people about why it's 9 doors down, the story. And then in that resort, we had to take golf carts, right? Remember, we had to take a
Yes.
golf cart from the epicenter all the way down to our rooms. And
Hmm.
then just 5 minutes after we tell someone our story, the person that was giving us a ride back to our room maybe hops in. Maybe we weren't in it for maybe like not even 45 seconds.
Hmm.
All right, guys. So I guess I'm supposed to ask you, what is 9 doors down? And then it's just an instant like icebreaker. It's a good elevator,
Yes.
and we could position ourselves in the bluff, the bottom line up front immediately once they
Mm.
ask me what 9 doors down is. So a lot of times it does raise eyebrows, but at least we're able to build a relationship, right? We could exchange contact information, and it all starts from there.
Yep. Beautiful. Beautiful. You start the conversation, you have an instant icebreaker and an instant connection.
Yeah, yeah.
And that fits with everything you do, all of your history right there.
It does, and out of habit, the as soon as I have that rapport, like we exchange contact information, hey, Mr. or Mrs. So and so, let's touch base next week. Let's hop on a Zoom to simply explore. Now, I'm not
Yeah.
selling anything. I just want to learn more about you. I want you to learn about us, you know, and I know that it's not an overnight, you know, quote unquote sale. Like I want people to follow us on social media, follow our emails, follow us for like 6 to 12 months before you even deploy
Mm-hmm.
any capital. See, just watch us, watch and observe us.
Right. Right. There
And
it
they
is.
don't feel pressured that way.
Now, there's another term that you've used twice so far in this conversation, and I want to hear more about it. And you know what I'm going to ask you about? You've used the term bluff, bottom line
Yeah,
up
yeah,
front.
yeah.
Where does that come from? And tell us about the strategy behind that.
Yeah, so with our fund, you know, versus a traditional syndication. So syndication, as we all know, you identify asset, then next 30, 60, 90, 180 days, you know, some people might be built up with anxiety and stress to raise that capital, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the fund perspective, because we're working with whether it's other operators or our deals, we know our buy box, we know our acquisition criteria. And so with the pitch deck, it is our way of like ingraining it to our potential investors of what our acquisition criteria is, what states we like to hunt, the minimum returns, whether it's 1.5 to 2x equity multiple in a range of 12 to 15 IRR, and then a pref of like 6 to 8. But the
Mm-hmm.
very first page, before I even go down to all those details, is we provide the bottom line up front. So as soon as the Nine Doors Down Opportunity Fund pops up on that screen, whether I could be in person presenting or over Zoom, I always let them know that we are a commercial real investment firm focusing on multifamily self-storages where we could 2x our capital as well as our investors' capital in 3 to 5 years. And
Yes.
intentionally, we pause because we like I would love to have that 15 to 20-second moment of awkwardness because it gets them thinking, it gets them reeled in.
Mm-hmm. You're leveraging awkwardness.
Yeah, yeah, that awkwardness is good because
Yeah.
I at least I know that they're at least listening to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong, Ray. There's been times when that first slide pops up and we're doing a presentation and the gentleman that me and Anthony are talking to, he's fixing a doorknob at a hotel, not even listening one bit. So that's when I know it's like, you know, maybe it's best that we reschedule so that way, you know, I could maybe condense my presentation to fit everything in 5 minutes versus 20 to 30 minutes.
Sure. Okay. Now, in addition to Nine Doors Down, you have the School of Nine Doors Down.
Yes, correct.
Tell us about that, if you will.
Yeah, so we launched that back last year,
Mm-hmm.
and very simple reason. The meetups that I was hosting, Anthony's hosting, and also attending, we noticed a trend with all these brilliant minds graduating from these awesome masterminds. So when it comes to acquisition and finding the deals, they were actually really smart, much smarter than me, and they were actually finding great deals.
Mm-hmm.
But when I would follow up with them, whether it's like 3 months down the road, 5, 6 months down the road, and I would ask about that deal that they're working on, Ray, no joke, I would say about 90% of the time they couldn't get into that very first deal because they couldn't raise the capital. So
Mm-hmm.
anytime someone asks me for like, you know, real estate education or specifically like multifamily, whatever, I
Mm-hmm.
refer them to the countless masterminds that are out here on the West Coast. There's tons of them. There's one reputable one in Phoenix, you know, there's some in Orange County, Northern
Mm-hmm.
California. But when it comes to just focusing on capital raising, that's where I'm going to play, learn things, um, operating a fund under while also working working with other managers. So you start to pick up on bests and
Mm-hmm.
what works and what doesn't work.
Right,
And,
right.
and you kind of just, you know, you can't help but to absorb it because if you're passionate about something, like you pick on those, you pick up on those small things.
Yep. And so you have operators, deal makers who come to you to learn how to raise capital more effectively for the deals that they're finding.
Correct. Yeah. So this is when the fund of a fund model, our experience with it comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
So like we tell some people, not everyone, but there's for example, there's a couple guys that I know that are transitioning from single family to multifamily syndications.
Mm-hmm.
And they may even if they have a couple joint ventures that they've done in the past, they didn't really advertise themselves like on social media or whatnot because they don't want to put their business out there.
Mm-hmm.
So, but with the school, we teach them that sales and the marketing is at a certain point, the real estate hat comes off. You're now
Mm.
you're marketing the brand, reminding people your entity is alive. We can help.
Right.
48 hours later, our entity is alive. We can still help. We want
Right.
you want that, that message to be conveyed always, even if you're in front of the person or not. So, we help them out with, like, online presence, social media, how to use AI,
Mm-hmm.
um, formulating the pitch deck, because we're very firm on having a pitch deck, because we feel that if eventually you're gonna know your pitch deck like the back of your hand, because it's a story ultimately.
Yep. Yep.
It may just be sample deals that you've done in the past, but definitely no current ones. But with that pitch deck, you're able to expand that to an hour presentation if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Or in some of my cases, Ray, I've been at meetups where I'm in the bathroom in the urinal, and I have one guy to my right, one guy to my left, and they're asking me about Nine Doors Down. I'm in
Wow.
I'm in the middle of a pitch while using the bathroom,
Yeah,
but I know
yeah.
to condense it
Okay.
within like 30 to 45 seconds.
Wow. You don't turn it off.
It's hard, man. Like I like talking to people because eventually I start learning from them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's good. So clearly you are operating in your area of giftedness.
I would like to say so. I hope so. I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I do like to add value to other people where I can.
You are absolutely doing that. Look, this has gone really quick. We're towards the end of our time together. This has gone really quick. And, we got to have you back. And we'll certainly have your partner, Anthony Pimentel, on here as well. As we wrap up, I mean, clearly, just listening to you, you're a learner, you're a sponge for new info. What are you reading or listening to sharpen your saw and keep yourself more,
Oh
keep
yeah,
yourself capable?
yeah. You know what? I'll be right back. I'm gonna show you.
Uh-oh.
So I just picked this up not too long ago. I don't know if you can see it.
Traction.
Traction,
Yes.
yeah, by Gino Wickman.
Yes.
It was actually given to me by a good friend of mine out here a while ago. I would say about 6 months ago. And
Yes.
I misplaced it, and I found it in the garage. So I found this literally last night. So I'm gonna go through this book probably for the next week or two.
Excellent. We'll make sure we include a link to that in the show notes. That is a favorite book of us here at ROI Clear and many people that we interact with. Yeah. So,
Yeah, but one of the
yeah.
best business books that I've recently connected the dots, Ray, is the Holy Bible.
Yes. Talk to me about that. What in particular about the Bible? What
Well,
books or what chapters? Tell me about that.
so I don't know my chapters all too well. So I'm just recently a born again Christian,
Yes.
but
Congratulations.
thank you. I'm finding that creation, just being the creation mode, is much better than being in the consumption mode, whatever that
Yes.
be. Right? So whether we're creating other leaders, or we're creating wealth for others, we're creating good times through nonprofits, or whatever, that creation and creating life at all costs is what I'm really starting to connect with, and I'm connecting that with the business. And just to give you a little teaser of what the future of Nine Doors Down is, we're actually doing a soft merger with several other groups out here in Las Vegas, which some of
Mm-hmm.
them is our partners at some deals in Texas. We're actually creating a vertically integrated company. We're going to bring
Mm.
the school on board, so that way we're gonna develop fund managers through School of Nine Doors Down.
Yes.
And we're gonna structure in a way where potential fund managers, they don't have to pay for anything up front for those SPV, for the SPV docs for the single purpose
Mm-hmm.
vehicle, whether it ranges
Yes.
from anywhere from 5 to 7 grand, right? But we're
Right.
structuring in a way where they don't have to pay for it up front. It's just when it's reduced when the deal exits. But the
Oh,
beauty of
yeah.
it, Ray, is our goals are very big, and 4% of our gross is going. It's already embedded in the business plan. It's going to tithings.
Wonderful. Wonderful. That's a beautiful vision, man.
Yeah, so that's a little
Yeah,
bit of
that's
what's next
action.
for the on our story.
It's not just about faith, it's about action. What do they say? Faith without works is dead, but you
Yeah.
are certainly taking your faith and putting that into action.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
wonderful.
And
Much success to you on that. And I really admire that you and Anthony are doing that. That's wonderful.
and you
And
know how
we
I met those guys,
absolutely,
Ray?
what's that?
You know how I met those guys?
How'd you meet them?
Our men's weekly Bible study group.
Wow.
I did
Yeah.
not think real estate would be involved when I started going in those men's groups, Ray, but it has really impacted my life and really made me look at about my purpose. I get
Yes.
while on this planet.
Right. Who can you serve? Who can you help? Like
Yeah.
you said, creation is more powerful than consumption.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm still learning it.
There it is. Man, Jon Lopez, it has truly been a pleasure speaking with you today on the ROI Clear podcast. We have to have you back at some point, and certainly I know I'm going to see you in and around the Southwest here, either in Vegas or California or here in Arizona. Thanks for joining
Yes.
us today.
Thank you, Ray.